Good morning, everyone. I hope you are all keeping well. Shavua Tov, Agitavach. Hope you had a wonderful Shabbos. It was wonderful to have Bnei Akiva with us, Bnei Akiva Shabbat Ha'igun, with over 100 people on Friday night and 150 for Shabbos day for Bnei Akiva. It was wonderful, plus our regulars, something very, very special. And I think a much needed tonic after a very difficult week. So firstly, I want to say good morning to Caroline, Michael, David, and Peter, amongst others that are joining us this morning. We dedicate our learning this morning, as we do every day, in memory of those that whose Yortzeit falls today, as well as those that we are saying Kaddish for during the year. I'd also like to dedicate this week's learning as a schus, as a merit for all of those in Ukraine, and in particular our Jewish brothers and sisters that are suffering so much, both in particular in Ukraine, but no doubt probably also in Russia. And there are people that we know in the Ukraine, and they're all trying to escape and trying to find some type of shelter. Exceptionally challenging times, and the scenes and what we are witnessing, we never thought history would repeat itself in such a way. And only 80 years after the Second World War and after the war to end all wars, and yet we seem to be back where we started. Very, very sad. Please God, there should be an end to all this sorrow speedily, and peace in our time. So there is a fascinating issue relating to the parsha that we just read yesterday, and that is that we find that we know we inaugurated the new month, Rosh Chodesh. Every month, 12 months a year, we inaugurate the month, a week, and the week preceding Rosh Chodesh. And the question, we find that the women in particular merited to have this as a yontif for themselves. This is, of course, we all celebrate Rosh Chodesh, but this time is a specific time when it is considered the women's yontif. It's in honor of the women, and the question is why. So our rabbis tell us and teach us that that we find that when it came to the tabernacle, the women were exceptionally generous in their donations, in terms of willing to give their mirrors and the jewelry and everything that they had to dedicate it to the building of the tabernacle. So the question's obvious. The men also gave. Why is it that the women should be honored? And the answer that's given is, I think it's based on a Rabbeinu Tam, but it's as follows. If you, let's say, I don't know who's on here on this call, let's say David. Okay, let me pick on David this morning. So if David comes to me and gives me a very lavish shlach manos for Purim, he gives me a beautiful wine, a beautiful bottle of wine and some chocolates. Very generous gift he gives me. So does that show that David is generous or not? The answer is it could do, or it could not do. In other words, it could be that is just David's nature, or it could be a matter of nurture. It could be that it's something that he's worked on, something that he's developed, that he's matured and nurtured over the course of time. Or it could just be that that's the way David was born. Some people are more generous than others. That's depends on a person's nature. So how do we know? How do we know whether a person would be generous or wouldn't be generous? How do we know if the women, when they gave these donations, they were being generous, or it was just in their nature? Well, we have to look at the contrast. Our rabbis tell us, if we look at the opposite to this, Rav Mordechai Miller quotes in his book, that if we look at the opposite incident of this, then we'll see the difference, and we'll be able to use that as a barometer as to whether they are genuinely generous or not. And if we look at the time of the golden calf, so the men were willing to give their wealth and their treasures in building of the golden calf, whereas the women chose not to. the women withheld their earrings and their golden bracelets so that they wouldn't build a golden calf. If they were, if it was a matter of being naturally generous, that's who they were, that's the way they were made, then they would also have given in that instance. And therefore, we could see that it was something that they worked on, something that they had control over, and it was only when it was the appropriate time that they gave. So when they gave and donated to the tabernacle, in contrast to the men, it came from a not just an automatic action that had not been carefully thought out, but this was something that they had developed, matured over the course of time, and therefore it was something that was genuine and sincere. And that is the way that we are expected to be. There are some things that we do as a matter of rote, as a matter of habit. Of course, it's wonderful to do those things, but what is truly praiseworthy is when we do things because it has become something that we've learned, something that we've developed, something that's matured over the course of time. Very often that's going against our natures, and in that way, by going against our natures, then we are able to nurture and to develop some outstanding characteristics that really become our own, rather than being something that is a matter of our upbringing, or just a matter of something that is from our nature. So please God, we should be able to develop the right characteristic, the right character traits, and in that way become truly outstanding individuals and members of the Jewish people. Once again, we pray that there should be peace in our time, peace for the people in Ukraine and throughout the world. Amen. We'll have to end it here. Wishing everyone well. Please God, we'll be back normal time, 9 a.m.